Welcome, ghouls, demons, and fellow weird ones. And today I'm going to start a series about my living art collections and dive into the creative process behind them and a little bit more about my modeling journey or this artistic endeavor that I have been on since I was 18. It's crazy to think about. So I think to start, I'll do more of an intro. I know I've done like an intro situation before. But as I've been kind of reflecting into everything, I'm not too sure how much detail I have shared with everybody. So let's get into it. All right. All right. So I've done like modeling projects since I was 18. I've always, well, I mean, we really want to go back. And we really, really, really want to go back. I bought a camera when I was 12 to 14. I can't remember exactly when I purchased the camera. I can picture my hair, which is really short, really, really short. I've had really short hair most of my life for a variety of reasons. And I remember I got my last name changed from my father's last name. I legally changed it to my mother's. So there's stuff around like that time. But I worked so hard to save up for a camera. It was just I don't even know if I'm going to pronounce it right. Was it a Nikon? Nikon? Fuck. I don't even remember, but it's just a small little digital camera. Not anything too fancy, but it was fancy for me. I'm pretty sure, like with everything that I got, it with like the memory card and the connections for the computer and all that fun stuff. I think I spent. Oh, I want to say I spent like 300 something dollars at least, which especially for me at that time was a lot. I would work an entire summer and maybe within that entire summer, I might make $600. I would get like $300 chunks that, I was getting paid under the table at this time in my life. So to touch on that, I've been working since I was 11. So there's that situation. I was, a swim instructor, like lifeguard situation. I did concession stands. I did a bunch of little things. Babysitting, I did a lot of babysitting. And anyway, all of that was to save up for the camera. There was different phases of my life, and every time I saved money, it was for something. One time it was for knee-high Converse. That was a big deal, which led into the next big purchase, which was my camera for me to take really fun photos. My friends and I, we would kind of take photos on like the flip phones to, date us a little bit. This was early or mid 2000s. Like, see, when was this? So I was born in 96. So I don't know, 2008 to 2012 is like the time frame, I suppose. Somewhere in there. I can't do the math right now, but I saved up for a camera because we would take pictures on the computers, like the photo booth. Our school district got us MacBooks. But then my friend, like we had like webcams on their computers, like my old friend Devin. I remember taking a bunch of MySpace photos on her desktop that were probably really ridiculous. But then I really wanted a camera. And I remember time with my camera, there were times where I had my friend Kadra. I'm pretty sure it's Kadra. It could be a few different friends. I had a few friends that I had invited over, and we would dress up and take photos. And I have some like crazy ones. Some of them are in my grandmother's. She has these photo albums that my aunt would design for her of us throughout the years, and she always found them to be like super, super special. And some of those photos ended up in that book, and I'm pretty sure it's because they eventually posted them on MySpace and Facebook. Facebook was fairly new, so that was 2010, right, when Facebook came out. So you can kind of like show the time frame. But I would, whenever I dress up, I would put makeup on. I remember my friend helped me stuff a bra. I learned how to stuff a bra for the first time because, as everyone knows, there's not a whole lot. There's not a whole lot going on there. But that like leads into some of my art collections, which I will talk about. There's a reason why I mentioned that. Because I've never stuffed a bra since that like middle school experience, which I feel like is a common middle school experience for women, especially girls of this time frame. And so I really loved dressing up and taking pictures. That's kind of all I really wanted to do is I wanted to create a look and I wanted to create a scene and I remember one of And I'm picturing one of the famous poses of mine, which was like I really love trying to recreate the scream face, like that portrait. I don't know why, but I also wanted it to be like really high end fashion. I think of 13 going on 30 at the time. That movie obviously really touched me in so many ways, which is why it was one of my sound bites when I turned 30, because I do relate to that tween very, very much. Or well, teen, because she turned 13, right? And so this was probably about the same time I was turning 13. It was somewhere in between 12 and 14 years old. It was before high school. I know it was like 7th and 8th grade. But I had it for a couple years, and then all of a sudden it disappeared. I was so devastated because I to this day have no idea what happened to my camera. I have theories about people taking it. I have theories about me leaving it somewhere and just being a kid about it. But it could also gotten lost in the move from my grandparents' house to the house that my mom purchased once she graduated nursing school. So there's like, it was just an interesting time. But I remember just like constantly wanting to take photos. I was always taking photos. There's a few of my little brother. I love memories. And that's one thing I really loved about social media when it really started to blossom is I was like, yes, like I instead of having all this like all these photo albums and all these photos that I'll never see again or be able to go through or whatever. It was just a really easy storage spot for me to keep all of this memorabilia and creative projects. I had so many creative projects in my life. So before the camera, to tie back into the fashion side of it, I got a sewing machine, which nobody taught me how to use. I struggled. So this was before like YouTube had all the tutorials that it had. So I really struggled to try to teach myself how to sew. But I wanted to design clothes and I would get like fabric paint and fabric glue, like glitter glue. It just add glitter to everything. So funny enough, I was thinking of one of these stories when I was doing golf lessons. My grandpa put me in this like kid golf life. It was not just golf, but they wanted to teach life skills. So it was a dual side program that they had at Riverside Golf Course in Kirtland, New Mexico. I was really blessed to be able to have that experience. I think I did it for 4 seasons. I wanna say, yeah, I can't quite remember, but Dana, which is funny. My golf instructor, Dana and Tom, I love Dana and Tom. Funny enough, Tom is my father-in-law's name. Hate my father-in-law, but love this Tom. But there's some similarity or mirroring. There's synastry, I think is what I want to say, in that like reflection as a kid into what I experienced as an adult. Because it's just really good depictions of similar energies, but that express themselves differently. So Tom and Dana in the golf area of things, they really believed in me. They supported me. They nurtured me in a lot of ways. A really beautiful, like paternal presence, I could say. Dana, to go back to Dana, that's my mom's name. Spelled it differently, but still. So I had Dana and Tom as my golf instructors, and then I have a Dana and Tom in my real life. So I don't want to say, I was going to say villains to be a little dramatic, but these adversarial forces that they give me a lot of flack and resistance in my life, especially when it comes to the things that I enjoy pursuing. They have their opinions about it. They're not shy about the opinions either. So it's real fun. But Dana and Tom, I always think of my golf instructor, Dana and Tom, because they thought I was the quirkiest, cutest little shit that they probably ever saw on the golf course. I was wearing a plaid, like punk rock, like, pleated, I don't know, 80s style skirt with God knows what shoes I was wearing. I know I was addicted to the Heartgram audios. They were a size and a half way too big for me, but I insisted on wearing them. My best friend Carissa gave them to me because my mom, you either couldn't get them or my mom wouldn't let me get them or a little bit of both, but I really wanted them. So I wore interesting skater shoes, but I also wore Converse as a big Converse person. Not really a Vans kid. I became a Vans adult, but I was a Converse kid. And then of course I'm in golf shoes, so I'm sure I like interchanged those. I love fishnets, so I'm wearing, my lace tights now, but I had fishnets I probably wore, and then just like a plain black, like layered t-shirt. So I had like a white tank top and then like the black t-shirt over it. And then the fishnet gloves with all the bracelets and very fashionable with my golf glove. And then I put glitter. I put glitter on this like cabbie hat that I had. It was real cute. It was red with a zebra stripe, like ribbon around it, little cabbie hat, and I put a bunch of glitter glue all over it. And that's how I started designing. It was just by putting like little accents on things. So with safety pins stuff. Like I was fairly limited in what I had available and what I could do. There wasn't a whole lot of education. The home ec side of life is I noticed a shift. Like I had home ec in 6th grade but there wasn't really much opportunity in the public school system for that. You had to pay for classes outside of that and wasn't always affordable for my family, or a priority for my family to afford. There's a lot of dynamics that can go into that, but my grandmother would take me to Hobby Lobby or Walmart. Those were like the two main places in the Dollar Tree. And we would go through like the clearance bins and she would help me try to find things to create. I made a lot of pillows. I made a lot of pillows with fabric glue because the sewing machine was such a disaster that I started fabric gluing everything. But yeah, so those are some of my more like fashion side. And I know that like a lot of people don't, if you don't know me in person or if you haven't known me for a long time, you may not understand the side of me. I know TikTok, that fucking place, really, they got a rude awakening, or it was a shock to people to kind of see me express that side of myself more for a variety of reasons, just because how my life went. But I've been doing this for a long time and trying to find my own, I guess, realm of it. Cause like it would be fun. Of course, it would be super fun to be like this world famous model and do all these things, but it's never really been about money or fame or fortune for me. I genuinely just love it. It's super fun. Like this outfit, I pieced together. I went through a series of like 20 outfits, trying to find the outfit for the goth prom labyrinth theme that we did for my birthday a few weeks ago. And so this is one of the outfits. My friend Erin called it very 60s goth. And so, I had to do the big hair or try to do the big hair. It wasn't fully working. Since I've had long hair, it is difficult for me to do certain looks, because it's heavy, but it's so pretty. So just I'm learning all kinds of new things, but that's the fun for me with fashion is I like experimenting with looks. Even looks that don't fully fit my aesthetic, I like trying things out. I have my core aesthetic that I feel like anyone could determine, and I have, definitions for myself, but for me it's the journey of experimenting and trying something out. So I went with this because I was kind of going for like a masculine. I wanted to easily dance and I wanted a masculine look, kind of go more David Bowie versus Sarah. But of course, I'm Sarah. That's that's my government name. And it's Labyrinth is my 30th birthday, so I might as well. I went fully princess for those who saw that look, but this was one of them. And I love the sheer lace, lace, lace and all of the above. And of course, the Victorian boots just kind of all tight together. So, anyway, why did I start talking about that? Sorry, my brain does not fully function when I'm talking in a stream of consciousness to my phone to an audience that has yet to be directed. To gather my thoughts, all of this is an introduction. An introduction to me and my life of fashion. So yeah, this was just an experimental look and I kind of went with it. So a lot of through this series, you're going to see more of my experimental looks as I yap about different looks that I've done, different collections that I've done. I do a lot of like new photography, so it doesn't always show the fashion side of me. And that's a lot of the modern culture, especially when working with other photographers. A lot of boudoir photographers like have reached out to me or people who wanted some kind of, I guess, sex appeal, and I am not against that. I think that it's quite liberating. I love a good like Bunny, was it Bunny Yeager? Jaeger, which I just learned about her on that Netflix documentary. I wasn't sure of her name. I knew her work without knowing her name, which I feel like is such a disservice to her, and I wanna do better. I also feel like that's society, right? Society made sure her name wasn't as out there as, like, Hugh Hefner or any of the above. Like, I know Dita Von Teese, she was on the documentary, and there's all of this stuff that I arguably was sheltered from, but I've come to this realization that I've just been so lost in my own little world creating that I haven't consumed, I guess, in the way that I would like to, maybe ethically, or just like consciously. I get inspired by something I see briefly, and then I'm lost in my own little world about it. So I do want to balance out that acknowledgement of things because without that art, I wouldn't have been inspired to the art that I have been creating. But anyway, so to tie this all in, back to where I began, which is, getting a camera, having my friends take photos of me, taking photos of them too. Like it was a group thing. And then like my senior year of high school, I did a couple shoots for some, local photographers. I did my senior photos and I had a lot of fun with my senior photos. Not a lot of people appreciated the full spectrum of them. I did some classic basic ones, at the sand dunes. I had a Avenged Sevenfold t-shirt and jeans because I wore a band t-shirt and jeans most of my high school career. I didn't express myself fashionably, especially in high school. I started to really like bring that in because my fashion just it didn't fit I didn't fit anything. And then the days that I did express myself, art creatively and fashionably, something fucking happened that made me be like, this is why I don't wear a dress to school. This is why I don't do this. Or this is why I don't do that. Because it was always just some, like, what was like, just what the fuck is the phrase? It was just always a surprise. It was something an anomaly would occur. Like, what the fuck do you mean that on school picture day, you're making all of the 5th graders or 4th graders or whatever it was run a mile in gym? My fucking PE teacher was out of her fucking mind for that. That was the dumbest thing. It's school picture day. No, not everyone has the appropriate shoes. And even if we do have the appropriate shoes, why the fuck are you making us run a mile for whatever fitness test in alignment with fucking picture day, you dumb bitch? So, like, little things like that. Or it was always like a day, like, oh, it's so nice outside. So we're going to have class outside, which none of this is inherently bad. But it was just like, it's more functional to wear jeans and a t-shirt and some fucking shoes. Sometimes, and like flip flops, I got real comfortable doing a lot of things in flip flops, but I didn't quite get to express myself because there's all this fucking shit that I had to fucking do, and you have to dress appropriately to do it. That is one of the biggest arguments that my husband and I have is why can't you dress functional when I'm dressing for the vibe? Because I want a good photo. I want a really cute photo. Not really for anyone except me. Even if I do share it to the world, it's really not about anybody else except me and my life and knowing that I looked that fun at this place and I created this vibe. And I like documenting it because I think it's fun to see the transgression of it all. But that's just because I have the technology. I would be this way even if I didn't have the technology. I would be wanting to push the fashion mold, I guess, in day-to-day life, which I really struggled with. That was a huge struggle. Which goes back like in middle school, I tried to get creative with it in like the scene, emo, punk got like this alternative space that I was in with acid wash skinny jeans, knee-high Converse, the fishnet, like things but I could still be functional. That's where like skirts with shorts underneath became like a good thing. But again, it still all became about jeans. Like tight fitted jeans were the thing. And I remember kind of really wanting that look to work. I've learned, and not just because I'm a Pisces Venus or Pisces midheaven or Cancer rising, because everyone's talking about fashion and your astrological signs. So all of this water energy would mean I should wear more flowy things. I tried so hard to wear really tight fitted clothes, and I was miserable. I was deeply uncomfortable for a lot of that. But it was fashionable and functional to some extent of the meaning. And so I went with it. And then I kind of just like really like dimmed myself down. But I get more experimental with like makeup. My hair was always just straight. It was always just flat ironed. Never really did too much with my hair. I had a lot of different looks with my hair. I have a lot of hair trauma. I would chop my hair because my mom would always put it in ponytail. So I chopped it off so she wouldn't have to put it in ponytail anymore because it really bothered me that my hair was like always being put up in a ponytail. And then once I started cutting it short, then she's like, "Well, then you have to style it." She left me, and she didn't teach me how to style my hair. I didn't learn how to style my hair. I had to figure out how to do everything myself when it came to my hair. Even a fucking ponytail, which I know all this stuff sounds really simple. It's not when you have real nose. Like I learned from watching. I watched people do it and then I had to try to do it myself. And I don't learn that way the best. There's people learn in different ways and I had to teach myself how to learn in a way that wasn't my natural learning style. So that was difficult, but that's why like, hey, flat iron, real simple. And so I had flat iron hair for most of my life. And every now and then I had to put like a little pin back. Sometimes I would try to curl it, but when I was blonde, those who don't know, I'm a natural blonde. I hated my hair curly when it was blonde. I don't know what it was. But here's the thing, I don't quite like my hair super flat iron. Not so much with it being black, but when my hair was red, I did not like it flat iron. And when it was like a more chocolatey brown, I did not like it flat iron. My black hair, I kind of like all dimensions. Blonde, definitely needed it curly. So all of this is to say that I've experimented a lot with this sense of self-expression, and it's been a huge theme in my life that I've struggled with and conquered in a lot of ways. So when I felt like I didn't have power over my hair or my clothes, I did makeup. And my mom, she's 80s makeup queen and she's like sold Mary Kay so we could get the discount on stuff and whatever else. So I would do some crazy, and then 2016 hit. So that thick look, my senior year, I was really doing a lot of thick looks. I really liked eyeliner. I've learned now for my own features that I definitely see like people have certain aesthetics that fit them that enhance their look. I wasn't always worried about enhancing my look. It was more about the fun of it. I just wanted to try a different look. So I'd have like really dark, dark, dark makeup with my dark brown eyes and wonder why it didn't pop the same as someone with like icy blue eyes or green or hazel eyes. And then, learning what colors complement your eyes and the whole color theory. It's very real, but wasn't a concern. It became a concern of mine the more criticism I got. This doesn't look good on you. It's like, well, I don't necessarily care if it looks good on me. I went for this look and I'm rocking it. And that you can't tell me that there's not anything that I can't pull off. Even if it's not my most perfect, whatever. Not interested. I am interested, but I'm not interested. Like I love those like perfect looks, where you do have like just mascara and like a lip tint complements me very well. I don't need a lot of face makeup. My black hair brings out my skin tone in that way enough. Like I've really assessed all of these things. And I think everyone kind of has to find that for themselves. Like I have a foundation of comfort, which I only found because of all the criticism that was like circling around me to where I just gave up and did nothing, which goes back to like how TikTok doesn't quite under recognize me. And even some people from my high school may not recognize me. So I started to quit wearing makeup a whole lot in my senior year. Like I would go to school without it or just mascara because I love mascara. I feel naked without it actually, but then I got really comfortable without wearing any makeup because I dated a few men who were like, I like a natural bitch, blah 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 blah. You get swept into these corners sometimes, especially as a woman, and you're like, I'm just trying to have fun. And then it was free, and I went crazy when I was in Detroit after Christopher broke up with me, and like I mean, even before that, I felt a sense of freedom living out of my mother's home. I felt like I got to experiment with my clothes. I got to figure out who I was, which I feel like a lot of people were doing in middle school and high school. I was busy focusing on a variety of other survival situations and emotional problems and all kinds of things. So when I was alone in Detroit, I was like, fuck yeah, I'm gonna dress how I want, I'm gonna do my makeup how I want, I just started experimenting. I continued on I started connecting to local photographers there. So, I mean, people found me just randomly, through social media, through I don't know, the gym. Like I just networked. I just had a natural network and people saw a few of my photos from a couple of photographers in New Mexico. And then like just my own like self portraits. Like I was always trying to take like an artistic selfie and I loved the imperfection of it. Like I had a friend she's like, you need to fucking clean your fucking camera. How many times have to fucking tell you? And God, it fucking drove me nuts. It was like, just bitch, dude, I don't fucking care. Like, I'm not trying to take this, like, crisp, curated Instagram photo. She was an influencer type, and so that was, like, her thing, and I didn't realize how much it irritated me until I just tried mocking her now. Like, they apparently ate the shit out of me. Like, oh my god, like, I could not stand it. Cause like, who cares? Like, yeah, maybe clean it, but, like, if it's a little grainy, like, that's the vibe, and you can see that in my some of my self-portraits now. I really like the unconventional look. I like the cringy, poor editing. Like, I like experimenting with that to create a mood. And it's just fun for me. And so that's why now I want to make money doing it because it's just fun for me. And like, why not live my life having fun? I've really been trying to find ways to embody that because I lived my life making money, not having fun. Like, to me, making money was not having fun. I made money to have fun and now I want having fun to make money. And I feel like a lot of people are kind of on that shift. I think Joe Rogan has like expressed that in his podcast enough that has really influenced a lot of people in the culture. And that's why he's significant as a Leo sun, Libra moon. I can't remember his rising. Can't remember. I looked up his chart because he may also be a Sagittarius moon. I could be questioning myself. But regardless, Leo sun essence for sure teaching people to connect to their inner child and connect to fun, and all of those good things. So I had to really sit with like, well, what makes me happy? Well, fashion, designing, photography, creative, everything. And I really like modern technology and being able to edit photos and kind of give a certain mood or give a certain look or all of these things. But yeah, so it just kind of just something that kept happening. And then I started wanting to try to make money off of it. That's when like OnlyFans just came out. And the same friend, same dumb bitch who told me to clean my camera, we're no longer friends, just to like clear that up. That blew up drastically. But she was like, OnlyFans is coming out. And a couple other people told me about OnlyFans. So like everything you post on Instagram, just post on OnlyFans and make money off of it. Or like maybe do like slightly riskier, because on Instagram you gotta, block out the nipples or whatever. So just maybe don't blur out the nips. And I was like, I'm perfectly fine showing off my nipples. Free the nips for women. I swear to God, if I can see man titties, you can handle whatever women got going on. Wholeheartedly mean that, with everything that I have. And so with that, I was like, sure, like, yeah, why not do OnlyFans? Like, just make some money off of photos I'm already taking on things that I'm already doing, not doing porn. This was before pornography completely took over OnlyFans. Like, there were lingerie models doing OnlyFans, and OnlyFans became a toxic environment. Uh, there were men and they're awful and they like over sexualized the things that I was doing. And then I had people who told me, they're like, I was really surprised at how classy it was. And I was like, what do you mean? Why are you surprised? I mean, I would argue, depending on your definition of classy, but I would argue my Instagram's pretty classy. I would argue the artistic view and essence that I'm trying to create, even in sexual mediums, is still classy. Like, I don't understand why people think that I'm trashy to any extent just because I'm alternative, just because I came from a level of poverty, like not the worst poverty, but a level of poverty. Like, I did not understand the feedback that was coming through. I don't know. But I guess it's the same people. Some people think that Rob Zombie is very classy, and other people think that he's completely trashy and dirty and all of the above. So I guess it just kind of depends on, I don't know, your definition, but also your relationship to these aesthetics. If you, and that's a whole other sense of bias that I don't need to go down. Um, but anyway, so yeah, so from there, I was just like surprised, and then people treated me like shit because of it. And it went from being this, artistic endeavor to being demonized, belittled, sexualized, demeaned in every way, shape, or form. And I told everyone go fuck themselves, and I quit doing it. It's like I don't need to do this, and like because people would send you money and then expect you to do things. It's like, oh, I'm not a porn star. I'm not. Like I don't know what the disconnection is. No matter how many times I explain myself, and it's like, well, I paid you money, so you have to. It would just became a fucking nightmare. And I was like, you know what? Like, kudos to sex workers because the little bit of that world that I experienced could never do. Never want to do again. Think I want to be delicate in expressing this. I think it takes a special kind of mentality, a special kind of person to be able to embrace that line of work. I think there needs to be a lot more respect for people who do engage in that style of work. I think it can be a style of work. I have a really complicated stance on sex work. In a variety of different ways. I want to be someone who I'm not the judge who deems something empowering. I can see how it's harmful, and I can see how it's empowering, and I can see kind of everything in between. And I think the individual has to make that choice for themselves. I don't think society can make that choice. And we all have our full spectrum of sexual expression. The only thing that I care about is protecting children. Also, people need to understand that human beings are inherently sexual, and that doesn't mean we sexualize kids. It simply means that we don't lie to kids about sexuality. And I think it's a really fine line of education and corruption. So the Epstein files have really proven all of that because my entire childhood was a level of grooming, which is really fucking weird to process. And sometimes I wonder if that's like where a lot of this artistic expression came from, is from all of this influence. But then I also think about how I've reclaimed that for myself. Like part of the nudity is one, it's embracing my flat chest that I've been deeply insecure about. So I told you that's important to bring up. I know my brother's friends, every male growing up was just like, You're flat as a board." And it was a problem. And everyone was telling me that I needed to save up money to get plastic surgery, to get tits, to be sexy. I wasn't sexy. So then when it came to someone being interested in me sexually, I was like, "Oh, wow, that's crazy." Because I was always told I would never be viewed this way, just to then also be like hypersexualized to the fullest extent of it, because I don't know. Men are just pigs, I guess, or society is full of like grossness. I don't I don't understand, but it's really weird to be told your whole life that you'll never be sexual, to then be hypersexualized. Which part of it was my own fault, in the sense that I'm like doing these nude photos to prove that a flat chested woman can be sexy and find empowerment for myself. But then at the same time, I'm always naked, so therefore there's like a desensitization over my nude form, which I argue is necessary for society to kind of control that primordial essence. And that's a whole other argument in itself. But like working in healthcare, I can see a naked body, and I know when it's a sexual context and when it's not. And I know how to keep certain thoughts to myself because we're humans and we all have these intrusive thoughts that come up. I know how to control my actions and my behaviors. And no matter how someone has looked naked, I know when it is my time and my place to participate and when to not participate. And so I learned all of these things. And to me, I've learned you can't win and you can't lose, or you're always going to lose or you're always going to win. And it's kind of your own choice. And so I'm choosing to win. And by that is I'm doing things that spark some creative joy and also empowerment for myself, as well as reconnecting human beings to our natural form. I really love the Greek essence of appreciating the human body for the sake of the human body and the art and the beauty that is the human form, male and female. You know, men get a lot of flack, especially about penises being ugly. Arguably, vaginas are just as ugly. You can people call it bump and uglies for a reason. But I have found such beauty in the human form, and that's what you see, especially in like psychedelic art. The mushroom is the penis, and the flower is the vagina, and there's this like just uh artistic element in nature that we represent that we've disconnected ourselves from. So I like the full spectrum. I like it in clothing and what clothing represents, not only as a survival tactic to keep us warm and protect us from nature and weather, but as self expression, all the way to how we are animalistic. We are primordial beings with a birthday suit, and clothing is an illusion. And I like to express all of that. And also, what it means to be naked is to be vulnerable. And I'm constantly breaking every shell of protection I have against my vulnerability to express myself to the world. Supposedly is what I'm supposed to do. I feel great when I get through it. Getting started fucking sucks, I'll tell you what. So with that, I think that kind of is a good intro to what I'm going to be diving into. Every single one of my portraits that I have on my website, there are lots of works that I've done that aren't on here that photographers never gave me or just got lost between the time I took them between now. There's a few photos. I mean, there's an old computer I had that I couldn't log into, and then I ritualized it by destroying it in a certain way. So everything on that laptop, I guess, was meant to be laid to rest. And who knows if it'll resurface in some weird archaeological way if it's not completely demolished by weather and all kinds of things. But yeah. So that's like that's me like modeling and fashion, and where a lot of this comes from is there's a creative spark, a sense of self-expression, and I just want to continue to live my life in that way. I want to share it with everyone, and I hope to inspire people to do that for themselves. I hate thinking that any of my inspiration is to create a copy. I want people to sit with me and explore themselves for themselves. And that always starts, there is like a level of mimicry, right? Like I'm very much a Lana girly. There's, oh my gosh. I mean, Green Day has been an influence. Britney Spears has been an influence. Halsey. I'm trying to think like there's many like black metal influences. Slipknot's a huge influence. I've had a lot of artists shape me. Edgar Allan Poe, anything in the Victorian era. So I understand fitting stereotypes. I understand that a part of exploration is not if it's not plagiarism, it but it is a foundation. It is an anchor of mimicry. I think there it should be a small pool of tolerance for that. But the whole intention of doing that is to find something for yourself. Or like your version. Like this is my version of a 60s like goth girly. You know what I mean? Because you know, the 60s was all about the mini, and this is like, I mean, this is real short with my shorts. But that's when the mini skirt came out, you know, the hair. So this is my 2026 interpretation of what I would have loved to have been in that moment of time. However, I know I probably couldn't have fully reached this at that time. And that's something that what is it? Naked Ambition. That documentary kind of talks about how at the moment these were revolutionary ideas and time takes away. How did they word it? Time can take away the grime and negative critique of art. And someone who has always been ahead of her time, I just have to embrace that people are going to call me trashy until they start to see the class within it, just like they did with Betty Page and all of these people that paved the way for me to be the woman that I am in this modern world. With that, I hope you enjoy the fits. I hope you enjoyed the yap. And we are going to dive in to my living art tale behind the tail. Well, it's not even the tail behind the tail. Now I gotta come up with another phrase. So, tail behind the tail is for my books, obviously. That makes sense. The tail behind the photo, I don't know. It doesn't roll off the tongue like tail behind the tail, guys. We'll figure it out. But anyway, thanks for listening, and I hope you enjoy the story behind the creative process that I will be diving into in these next few episodes.